That's me. Right, a moorland tour, a rugged moorland tour. Sorry. Hot wire foam factory's sculpting tool to carve the expanded polystyrene this time, because expanded polystyrene comes in thicker chunks, cheaper than the extruded stuff does, and it's easy to carve with the tools I have. And this is one of the main tour pieces which will sit on top of the main structure of the hill there. I'm using Gorilla Glue because it doesn't eat the foam, and you're supposed to weigh it down. I did weigh it down, but I didn't show me weighing it down here because I don't know why I didn't take any footage of it. You have to weigh it down while it cures. I'm using a crummy old hot knife there because my hot wire foam factory one broke, which was very annoying. Anyway, newspaper and masking tape makes a nice cheap substructure material. It's common model railroading technique, that. Plaster bandage to cover all of that up, which is again cheap if you know where to get it or who to buy it from. Keep building that up until you're happy. It goes off like concrete if you do it correctly, which is just a case of kind of smoothing it down, making sure there are no gaps. And then I'm going to cover the tour pieces themselves in plaster of Paris, which is easily carvable, because I am going to start carving it here. I smoothed it over already there. Again, I didn't show that, don't know why. I'm using a lolly stick here. You can see how easy it is to carve this stuff. But I keep building it up because these tours that you get on molds, they look like they've been let out of your hand and slapped onto the earth, you know, like in big kind of cow pants almost, but they're full of fissures and they're just big dollops almost. So you have to keep dolloping on the plaster of Paris here and keep working it, keep carving it until you're happy. You get all the little marks in it, all the that kind of almost runny look of that old molten magma, whatever it was. It's granite. And I'm using a knife here. You keep carving, keep going until you're happy with it, basically. It took a long time to get this right. And then I used a wire brush to add stratus lines into the rocks, and I keep working it, as you can see here, adding deeper and deeper fissures. Keep going until you're happy. A bit more wire brushing. Right, Woodland Scenics Rock Molds. These are going to be for the outer rocky bits of the hills. A bit of plaster of Paris in there. Plaster of Paris. Make sure it's the same plaster you use for the rocks so that the paint takes equally. And there's a latex mold I made myself. I might have a video on that at some point. Anyway, lay all the rocks out. Doesn't matter if they're not perfect. Sculpt mold. I always use sculpt mold. I think everyone uses sculpt mold. Apply it fairly thickly, so it's not runny, because otherwise it will take a long time to dry. It might never dry, to be honest. Apply that all round. Don't bother about smoothing it out too much, because whoever saw a smooth moorland. And press the rocks into the sculpt mold. Add a bit more sculpt mold behind it. They'll secure them nice and fast. And then I'm going over the whole thing again with the wire brush. And you know, you think the wire brush is going to cause an awful mess, it's going to ruin your model, but actually it ends up looking brilliant. It looks really natural if you can apply it all over and evenly. Right, acrylic washes. I'm going for a grey granite look, obviously, so I went with a light grey. You can't really see it much in this footage because of my daylight bulbs, but then kind of spotting over a bit of burnt umber over about, I don't know, 2/3 of it, and then a dark grey wash all over that. And you see the wash actually goes differently over the sculpt mold. It goes a bit darker, so you have to be quite careful. Scenic glue to kind of fix all that in place and let that dry, and then go over that in a black wash, which really gets into all the nooks and crannies and really adds a very authentic look. And then I dry brushed that with some white acrylic. Diluted Mod Podge matte. Now you might notice I've forgotten to do something here. I forgot to paint the earth colour underneath. So all of this grout and soil, if I missed any bits, it's going to show through white, but well, in the end I didn't bother changing anything. I went over it with some Woodland Scenics fine turf at this stage to kind of blend it in a bit more, and some clay dust because I'd realised my mistake. It was a silly mistake, but you know, where it does show through white, it doesn't look so bad because you get white, bizarrely you get that kind of white lichen look on the moors. And then I sealed all that in with isopropyl alcohol and scenic glue, and then I'm adding Mod Podge matte full strength once that is fully dried, because now I'm going to add static grass. This is my favourite bit, pretty much one of my favourite bits. I use Nox 6mm static grass and a Pico micro static grass applicator, which it does the job very nicely, thank you very much. And then around the edges of that, a light dusting of 2mm static grass in a slightly darker colour, a bit of Pico stuff I use there. It's kind of a summer blend, no, autumn blend. Woodland Scenics fine turf, again I think I'm using earth there and burnt grass, and then the coarse turf, which simulates kind of the heather on the moors, and you have to apply it in patches like you do on the moors. You get those kind of paths running up to tors, those natural paths divided by heather, and some Woodland Scenics yellow flowers and Jarvis heather mix, so the heather in bloom there, which adds a really authentic look to the whole scene. Give it a good dusting off, isopropyl alcohol and scenic glue all over that. Make sure you give it a thorough soaking and all of the clumpy foliage bits get properly gone over with a pipette. And then once that's dried, Woodland Scenics Finely Foliage, which I'm using the autumn mix here. I also used some of the mid-green stuff I think, but the autumn mix just adds a few pops of colour. It may not be entirely realistic, but I said before in previous videos that models, it's all about making it look a little bit exaggerated to lend it reality. Thank you very much for watching again. Remember to subscribe and you'll never miss one of my fabulous videos. Hope to see you again next time. Cheers!